each mortal world. We thank thee for the...
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to another wonderful edition of Reminiscences. Reminiscences, as you know, is a program where we showcase individuals who have made their mark in their different callings, so to say. And today, or tonight, on the program, I'll be having as our guest one of the newest members of the Septuagenarian Club. He will be 70 on the 9th of May, year 2021, which is just 2 days to come. I'm talking about a retired military professional with over 20 years experience and an expert in overall security operations. He is a socialist, a religious person, and of course a community man to the core. He is the Agba King of Egba land and also the Baba Adini of Egba Muslims. Join me as I welcome to the program Navy Captain Rashid Adisaraji, retired, our guest on Reminiscences tonight. Navy Captain Rashid Raji, you welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very grateful that you were able to spare some time for this interview.
Maybe first of all, I should say a massive happy birthday in advance to you.
Thank you.
You joined the Septuagenarian Club by Sunday. You're going to be 70. How do you feel about this when you look back?
First and foremost, I give thanks to God Almighty for sparing my life to up to date, because I can't wait to see that Sunday on the 9th when I'll be 70 exactly. So in the first place, I thank God and I give glory to God Almighty, because when I look back and think about what has transpired, all right, or people I mixed with, some that are no more, some that are still alive, and when I compare myself with some of them, I have cause to thank God Almighty for all the ramifications of life. I thank God.
Okay, let me give you a little brief about our guest before we go on with this special program. As I said, he was actually born on the 9th of May, 1951. And of course, he attended Yaba Methodist Primary School, Yaba. That is in 1958, Eko Boys High School, Mushin, Lagos, January 1966. Let me also tell you that he also attended the British Royal Naval College, Dartmouth, United Kingdom, December 1975 to October 1976. And of course, he was at the Nigeria Defense Academy, Kaduna, December 1972 to June 1974. Of course, his civilian experience include being the Federal Ministry of Finance, Motor and Vehicle Advance Lagos, February 1975 to September 1975. His military experience, where he spent most parts of his days, include being the Director of Procurement, Naval Headquarters, Ministry of Defense, September 1998 to June 1999. He was once Ministry Administrator of Bauchi State between September 1994 and August 1996. Also Ministry Administrator Sokoto State, August 1996 to September 1998. Of course, back in Ogun State, he was the Executive Director DIFRI, Ogun State. In addition, sole administrator, Ogun State Hotels and Motel Board, January 1989 to October 1990. Talking about his major achievements, Executive Director, he was the Executive Director, Directorate of Food, Road and Rural Infrastructure, DIFRI, Ogun State between 1998 and 1990. I told you that many rural roads were constructed, borehole, hand pump wells were drilled, farmers were assisted with farming inputs, and 19 villages were provided with electricity throughout the state. As a military administrator in Bauchi and Sokoto between 1994 and 1998, it is undisputable fact that the people of Bauchi State and Sokoto State, and indeed the Nigerian populace, could attest to the remarkable and unprecedented all-round achievement. In fact, he was nicknamed Rural Administrator in Bauchi State because of his determination to improve the lot of the people in the rural setting of the state. His concern for Bauchi State rather manifested by the following spectacular achievements: rural electrification of 35 towns and villages, connection of 2 towns on national grid, payment of over 12 million naira for WAEC and teachers grade 2 examinations to assist indigent students, award of scholarship to deserving students, promotion of about 600 teachers to boost science student education, successful drilling of 300 boreholes, completion of Bauchi State water supply project, Hazare and Gombe water. The achievement in Bauchi State was remarkable and spectacular, but Sokoto State was more remarkable and unprecedented. For example, a hospital was established. This was first of its kind in Nigeria for surgical operation of the vasculovaginal fistula (VVF) disease. The hospital attracted a team of doctors from overseas, United States of America to be precise, and the Ogun State University Teaching Hospital for surgical operations which were given to the patients free of charge. He received an award for the effort of controlling the deadly disease. Of course, talking about military, he has this honor, MSS, FSS, and PSC. And talking about professional bodies, they belong to the Nigerian Institute of Management, Solar Energy Society of Nigeria, Fellow of Administrative Management of Nigeria, Fellow Tertiary Learning College of Education, Ijebu-Ode, Fellow Institute of Teachers in Education, Nigeria, Certified and Distinguished Public Administrator, Fellow of the Faculty of Science, FFSC, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agowe. Award of Excellence he has received include that of Sokoto Historical Project, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Monitor Newspaper Chapel, Nigeria Society of Engineers, NSC, Sokoto State Chapter, Hero Social Development, Merit Awards from Osun State NUJ, Kwara State NUJ, Sokoto State Council NUJ, Society of Engineers, Conscience International Magazine in 1997. And talking about his contributions to Ogun State development, he donated a large sum of money for the completion of Obadini Ishunariwo Complex at Osut during 1996 Shagamu Day. October 25th, 1999, a big sum of donation on behalf of Sokoto State to the Ogun State Industrial Development Fund. Donation of multi-million naira building at Olabisi Onabanjo University at Agbowo, Ogun State. It should be noted that all these donations were contributions from his friends and well-wishers. As part of contribution to Itoko community, where he hailed from, he was instrumental to the tarring of all the township roads in Itoko quarters of Abeokuta and the provision of the community with pipe-borne water by PTF. His chief statutory titles include Baba Adini of Egbaland, Agbakin of Egbaland, Ashipa Jagumolu of Egbaland, Akinshegun of Owu, Jagumolu Adini Naraudi Society of Nigeria, Abeokuta branch, and so on and so forth. And of course, he has visited so many places like West Germany, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, United Kingdom, Portugal, Gibraltar, Spain, and all West African countries, Mauritania, and United States of America. His hobbies include traveling, reading, hockey, squash, table tennis, and sailing. Once again, let me welcome Navy Captain Rashid Adesaraji, retired, to the program again.
Thank you very much.
Yes, what was growing up like? The same Itoko?
Initially, I started with Itoko.
Okay.
But by the time I was about 5, 6, 7 years, because I can't remember precisely when I left Itoko for Lagos. So I was in Lagos, and by 1958, I started schooling. So from there, from primary school, as you said, I went straight to Kubasai School. From Kubasai School to NDA, from NDA straight back to the Nigerian Navy, where I went for so many courses. And well, so far so good. I became an administrator by the grace of Almighty, and here we are today after retirement.
Let me take you back to Eko Boys High School, your days there. You still remember a few of your friends who are almost like your age mate and you are still very close. The little pranks you normally play in school, every individual. So you still, are you still in contact with a few of them, and where are they?
Well, I'm still in contact with some because we still do Old Boys Association meeting. I'm very active when it comes to some of these activities. I contributed a lot to the development of the school when I was in service. So I still have many of them that are my friends. A good example is Muhyiddin Salau. I'm sure you know Muhyiddin Salau. He was a PS. We attended the same school. So there are so many of them. I had a senior who was also a PS before he retired. Fair complexion, I've forgotten his name now. Yes. So I still have very few of them that are my friends. But then, Yoruba said, Ogun ọmọdé wọn ní ṣeré fún ogún ọdún. So the meaning is for 20 years, it's not really possible to have
the same kind of people moving together for 20 years. Now, you are from a traditional setting in Abeokuta, Itoko, and I know that people like you, if they don't attend Abeokuta Grammar School, it will be Baptist Boys High School. For you, why Eko Boys High School? Who influenced that choice?
No, it was the design of God Almighty. When we were leaving the primary school, right, we had the opportunity of taking forms. I took Abeokuta Grammar School, right, and one of the schools in Lagos was Eko Boys High School. Unfortunately, the result of Eko Boys High School came out before Abeokuta Grammar School.
Okay.
And moreover, Eko Boys High School is a privately operated school.
Okay.
You understand? So I should have preferred to come to Abeokuta Grammar School, all right, than going to Lagos first private school those days, right? And moreover, I was not too comfortable with Lagos because I wasn't used to that area apart from the primary school that I attended. So I should have loved to be here, but unfortunately the result of exam, the common entrance, that of the Eko Boys School came out before Abeokuta. And once the payment is made, it's not refundable. So there was no way I could say, no, I don't want, after I was called for interview here. So
let's go back home.
How did I come about Eko Boys School?
Yes.
My senior brother was living in Mushin, Coca Street to be precise.
Okay.
So we used to go there.
Okay.
And most of the time, we go around playing around that school, Eko Boys School. So from there, I developed interest in it. And my brother too was particular about my going there, very close. And by that time, there was no boarding house. You have to leave from home to the school.
Let's talk about your family while you were growing up. What was it like? What was your parents like? What's your number? How many are you? And of course, what is happening to some of them now?
That's a good question. Well, as you know, I'm from Itoko, from a Muslim family, strong Muslim family.
Polygamous family?
Polygamous family.
Okay.
Right? And my dad married 4 wives. The first and the last wife were unable to have any children.
Okay. Right? No issue.
Yes. But the second and the third, my mommy was the third. Right? We were 9 from the second and the third.
Okay.
Right? And by the grace of Almighty, I was the last born.
Wow.
Yes. So we were 9 altogether, and out of 9, we have from my mom. Okay, we were having 4 boys and 1 girl.
Okay.
That time, and from the other side, 4, making 9. From my side, 5. My sister is still alive, but the first born of my mom is late. My mom is late, my dad is late. And from the men's side,
Okay.
virtually I'm the only one remaining from my mother's side.
Okay.
Because I lost the first one, then the third one, the fourth one, even the second born, which was my sister, which is still my sister. She's still alive, and well, it was a good family. It was a good family environment. We love each other because by the time I was growing up, there was you cannot differentiate the children of A or children of B.
Okay.
So we used to live together, and even though we're not actually in Abeokuta, but we used to come home, especially during festive period, come home for celebration, we mix together. And
What was the disposition of your father to education?
wow, that's a very good one. Well, my father wants me to read. He loves education. In fact, my senior brother, one of my senior brothers, right, was a teacher in our area of Kiarijide, the school on top of the hill. That's Nawarudin.
Okay.
There's a primary school there, so he was a teacher. So he wants me to read, and that was why when I was to go to NDA, right, they were not really in support. They never wanted me to, because as of that time, this my sister that is still alive from my mother's side just came back from UK after so many years in UK. So the idea was that after working for about a year from Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Finance, Motor Vehicle Advances, I'll be able to travel out to finish or read whatever I can do over there. But as God will have it, while we were in the office, I met some military guys, and that was how NDA started. In fact, I was in the same office with Chief Shoyoyi from here. We were in the same office as of that time. So when I told him I was going to NDA, he didn't believe it. So he was also interested as of that time. But by and large, I left, and that was how.
I was going to ask what informed that choice. Was it something you've been nursing for a very long time, or was it just sudden? And of course, by the time you got to the NDA, why the Navy? We have the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force.
Yes.
For you, why the Navy? But first,
It was a sudden decision.
Okay.
It wasn't something I planned for, right? But along the line, I got to love the military men when I see them. You know, then you respect any military man when you see him, either Army, Navy, or Air Force. The presentation, when you see them with vigor. You see them very, very attractive. So because of that, when I met this group of military guys, so there was one major is Major Kuti from here, but I never saw him after the first day.
Oh.
Yes. So the first day he came to our office in Lagos. He came to our office, and then we used to deal with both Army, police, civilian on this motor vehicle advances, either machine or cars. Right. So he just came and we started discussing about the military issue. So he said, he is from Kaduna. I said, good. I need a form from Kaduna. I want to. He said, no, I will get the form. And that was the beginning. So my mommy, my daddy did not know anything about it. And we did the exam. I was lucky to be called for the interview. It was during the interview that my mom, when we were about doing the interview, that my mom got to know about my ambition. How did it happen? The publication was on dailies. So when I saw the publication that day, right, my name wasn't there, but my number was against another person's name. So I kept wondering, I said, maybe I was not taken or I was not qualified. So unfortunately, I had a friend in Kaduna, so I now sent a message. That time, the phone we're using was this, you have to go to Nitel, you queue up to make a call. And so I called this guy that I saw the publication. The result was on social page, but my name wasn't there. I saw my number. I should go and check in NDA. So I now went to NDA to check the result. By the time he was able to confirm that my name was against my number, there was no way he could get in touch with me. So what he now did was to send a telegram to our house, and I was still working. So the telegram came while I was in the office. So from there, my mommy saw the telegram. She opened the telegram, and I just came back from work. I met her crying. Crying? What happened? Nobody could explain. So later she now said, after the Civil War, you want to go and join the army? They've just finished this. You want to go to work for us? You know, women. Yes, I don't want to do this. I said no. So I was able to convince her, but along the line she was still not satisfied. Until when a man came, I can never forget this man. His name is Mr. Bankole. So he used to stay around our compound there. So he now came and he saw my mommy. I said, why are you crying? I said, look, I saw this telegram. He didn't tell me. I just saw the telegram inviting him for interview, and he has to go to NDA Kaduna. So the man now said, let him go. That was the word the man used. Let him go. If God says it's his way, will be taken. If not, just leave everything in God's hand. And that was how I went for the interview. And by the grace of God, I was taken. So now the choice of the Navy. Before that time, because I was in Lagos, I used to see Naval guys in their white. And they have this logo, join the Navy and save the world. They used to carry. You see it everywhere in Lagos. So I got attracted. I love traveling. Maybe I will see the whole world. And virtually I saw, if not the whole world. So that was why when I got there, I now decided, look, I want to be in the Navy. And by the grace of God.
And of course, what was the experience like? You spent 20 years in Navy?
In the Navy as a whole, more than 20 years.
More than 20 years.
My service career was 28 years.
Wow.
28.
So you must have definitely, Navy is your world.
Oh yes, I saw the world. I saw the world because while I was there was a time I was on board the ship and in the Zambia. I had the opportunity of staying about 2.5 years to 3 years, which to me, it was a blessing. Because as of that time, when you compare the number of officers with the number of ships that we have, you cannot stay more than 6 months a year on board the ship as an officer.
And you stayed like 3 years?
Almost 3 years. So, first and foremost, we were in Kiel, standing by for the construction of the ship. The ship was constructed newly. When we came back, after so many trips, we sailed from Germany straight to Nigeria. After that, we came back. We went to Lebanon with the same ship. From Lebanon, we had problems. We had to go to Malta, where we were doing the repairs. I was going in between Malta and UK because the embassy was in UK, so you have to take care of us, leaving Malta almost once a quarter down to Malta, down to UK. Fortunately, we were able to do minor repairs there. But when we came back, we had to go back to Germany with the same ship. So you can see the opportunity that I really had that time. So I had to go back, go for the refits. For the refit, we came back. After that, we now sailed. So, and all along, we were passing through most of the West African countries. So I really enjoyed staying in the Navy. And moreover, as of that time, you know, one thing that was certain, very, very certain. One, you have job satisfaction and you have job security. Yes, because we're happy, you'll be happy to do your job, and if you don't commit any serious offense, there's no reason why you'll be driven away. You understand what I'm saying? Unlike now when things are somehow different from that.
Of course, part of the high points of your career was when you became military administrator in Bauchi and later on in Sokoto. Let's start with Bauchi. When you heard the announcement, where were you and how did you feel?
Well, I'm trying to picture how it happened. What really happened was that, yes, I was in Jaji, Command and Staff College. I was one of the teachers. All right. So suddenly, in fact, yes, what happened was that particular day, I went to town. I was using Toyota Celica. I had an accident with that Celica. Yes.
That day?
Yes. Kaduna bypass. Okay. So I didn't get back to the barrack because I was in Jaji, right? Until about 11:12. Because I was trying to remove the car to workshop and so on and so forth. By the time I got back, because I was in a guest house, the houseboy said, Mr. A came, Mr. B came and looked for you. I said, what happened? And there were too many phone calls here and there. So I was worried. The first thing that came to mind was whether there was a coup. And if such thing happened and your name is mentioned, you are a target. Okay. So, but after a while, somebody just called me. His name is Omesa. In fact, it's a junior brother to late Admiral Ibi.
Okay.
All right. So he just called me on the phone. Congratulations, Your Excellency. I said, what's happening? He said, instead of Bauchi, he said, you are going to Kebbi tomorrow. I said, Kebbi, for what? He said, you've been appointed administrator. That was how I got the news. Okay. From there, there was no communication from headquarters, no communication from anywhere. I couldn't sleep. So by midnight, I was able to get my family in Lagos. Then I asked whether there was any information, whether anybody came. So he said, no information. Except that somebody came in and just asked whether I was around or not. I said, all right. That I would wait till the following morning. So by the following morning, I got a call from one guy that later became my ADC. So he just called me that this appointment is coming out very soon and I've been appointed as administrator. Okay? So I was so happy, but then I didn't know what was going on until when we were asked to come down to Lagos. We came down to Lagos, and then went to Abuja for swearing in. From Abuja, there it was pronounced that I was going to Bauchi, and from there in depth Bauchi. So that was.
Of course, in Bauchi State, yes, we really have many achievements that you did in Bauchi, but how remarkable was that appointment to you and to the people of Bauchi? What will you say you will always remember as a big success story when you were the ministry administrator in Bauchi?
There are too many things
to remember.
Yes. But one important aspect was that right from day one, right from day one, I repeat, I enjoy the support of Bauchi people, right from day one.
From day one.
Yes. Because you know they had to receive me at the border. From there, we went home, and I was very skeptical about some of these things, trying to make sure that I'm a little bit protective or so on and so forth. But before I knew what was happening, everybody were just talking to me, discussing it. Although initially I didn't find it easy because that was my first time in Bauchi and first Yoruba man that will govern in Bauchi. There was no other reason beside that. But with the people, I enjoy the goodwill of everybody, honestly. And for me to have been able to achieve the success story, it was with the support of.
Is it in Bauchi that you were nicknamed rural administrator?
Yes, it was in
Why
Bauchi.
rural administrator?
Yes, because in my initial speech, I made it very clear that I want to concentrate on rural development.
Okay.
And I called the local government, all the chairmen, we all agreed that it's going to be a tripartite business. We will, each of us will contribute, the local government will contribute, state government, and the community will contribute in all whatever we're going to do. If it's borehole, if it's 100 naira, 10% to community, 30%, and so on and so forth. So we were able to have that harmonious.
Establishing a hospital to tackle vascular fistula, which is common in the north.
Yes.
And of course, attracting doctors from outside Nigeria and from within Nigeria, there should be one of your biggest legacies so far, especially in Sokoto.
It is.
How tasking was that? How were you able to achieve it? Did the people believe in it when you told them this is coming up? Because we had a whole lot about this, and people just think it's a natural thing that will happen. Then, what was the experience like? What effort went into it? The success story.
Well, fortunately for me, that was the first project I embarked on
in Sokoto.
In Sokoto, yes, the first project. What happened was when I was going around, all right, I had so many information about this particular problem. Going to hospital, you see children of 14, 13, 16 having a VVF case. So I said, okay, I made up my mind I was going to build that hospital. But where I was going to build the hospital was not known to me. But fortunately, along the line, I got to know that we have Old Market, a place used as Old Market. And from that Old Market, they moved the market to a different location. And the place was just vacant. So what the people were planning was to divide the land among maybe government official or whatever. So when I got that information, I said, fine, this is going to be where I was going to build the hospital. So I made the move. I informed the commissioners during the ESCO, and immediately the people got to know. The response was very, very positive, because I can't forget one particular person that donated 3,000 blocks. Immediately I mentioned it. He donated 3,000 blocks for the commencement, for the start of the project. Yes. So, and that was how I started. And immediately it was completed. The response was so rapid and very encouraging, because everybody, since it was like a general problem, and now there's an avenue to get treatment. So the people were so happy and they really want it done. So, and by the time I started consulting, that look, how do we now run this hospital with the meager resources that we have? So ideas came that, one, because I was in consultation with friends in Agowoye here, and they said, look, we can just get some doctors that will do the preliminary work, make effort, get some doctors from Harvard University. They will come here. So from there, we were able to get about 10 doctors from US. Every year we come twice.
Okay.
So before the arrival, this team from Agowe will come, examine the patient, and they'll be able to classify the problem. Once these people come, it's just a matter of going to the data they have and they start the operation.
Do you have time to, once in a while, ask how the hospital is doing now, even though you are no more there?
There was a time I went to Sokoto and I was there.
Okay.
They still maintain the hospital because I also tried to construct another hospital, but almost the time I was leaving. And I went there too. And so the government, in fact, the government pumped money to this particular hospital. They modernized some of the things that were done by us. So.
Okay, let me just ask this question because you mentioned Agowe. I was going to ask later. One of your awards and titles, Distinguished Citizen of Agowe, and there are about other 2 or 3 places where I had Agowe. And when we are looking about your philanthropism, donation of multi-million naira building at Olabisi, what's this connection between you and Agowe?
Very good. Well, when I was appointed in Bauchi, the VC then sent a letter. I think it started with a letter. Right. He sent a letter of congratulation and then that they were going to pay me a visit and so on and so forth. They were so happy. So he now sent 2 people. One of them was Professor Balogun.
Kamaldeen Balogun.
The Imam.
Okay, Professor Kamaldeen Balogun.
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
One of them. And then the second person, Professor Kusawo was the second person. So 2 of them came, right? And that was the beginning. So when they now came, before then, when I was here, we used to go to Olabisi Onabanjo with Governor Lawal.
Okay.
All right. So anytime we're there, I got to know someone. I'm sure that was what informed the VC writing me or something.
Okay.
Because they must have gotten the information that we used to come or something. All right. So he wrote me, and then that was the beginning. So when after establishing this, we were making contact. They were visiting me, and sometimes I can't remember what they were doing. The VC just told me that they were moving to the permanent site and there was no structure. That, well, we should try and see what can be done. So I said, okay. I said, what we are going to do is, we don't have money as a state government, but let him write me a letter officially saying that this is their requirement. Right. So he now wrote a letter. Right. When I got the letter, I asked my PA, we made photocopies of the letter. I put a covering letter, sent the letters out to all my friends, including late Shagari, President Shagari. Right. So from there we started having responses, donation. I remember vividly, President Shagari donated 25,000. I can't forget that because after the donation, we started the construction, and by the grace of God, it was virtually the first building in that permanent site.
Okay.
And if you go there today, you will see it, Rashid Raji Administrative Block. It's still there up till now. So that was how.
I understand that you also rallied your friends around when the MK Abiola International Stadium is being constructed, when Governor Sam Ewan was the governor. What was it like? Let's tell us this true story. You were in Sokoto there.
Yes.
And of course,
you see, it wasn't only that. I saw my appointment as an opportunity to also reflect on my community positively. So I did not forget my background. I did not forget where I started from. Yes. So all along I was getting in touch, and moreover, all right, I took it up as an appointment for Ogun State.
Okay.
So all what I was doing wasn't for Egba or for it was all across Ogun State. I had a lot of, for instance, the late Shonariwo, right? I made so many contributions to the development of Shagamu.
Okay.
All right. They are all so many other. They will just invite me. We want to do this. Okay, fine. In fact, the first Sultan that came to Shagamu that time, I was instrumental to bring in the Sultan, all right? And from there they got to like me, you know. The late Shonari said was going to give me a title of RSF Ramala, and I got that title, okay. But I had a lot of contribution to, even apart from the school, the construction of the hall, right? I made a lot of contribution to the hospital, the general hospital in Shagamu, and so so the point was that with all these efforts, all right, you see, when you are doing, when you are committed, when you have that commitment to your community, all right, anything that's happening, you want to take part. So when that thing was happening, they sent me a letter.
Okay, that is the stadium. Okay.
All right, they sent me a letter, and apart from that, there were no time that I got anything that something is happening that I would not come with people en masse from both Bauchi and Sokoto. And we are very, what will I say? That was why I said, right from day one, I enjoyed the support and the cooperation of virtually everybody. The participation was so much that they saw me as one of them. Initially, the honestly, to be candid, I'm not biased about anybody, but initially it wasn't easy. But after a while, they got to know that, look, probably some of them said, this is a pleasant man, so I started having information, a report coming to me, because in Bauchi, to be candid, right, for about 6 weeks I didn't work. I didn't do any project, let me put it that way. I was working, gathering information, right, compiling notes, having briefs from the department and so on and so forth. So by the 6th week, all right, I've already made up my mind on what I want to do. And one of the things I started with was the water project, which to me, it's got into about maybe 90-something% completion, and it was abandoned. Unfortunately for me, the contractor, one of them was Ari Akonde from Ibadan, and the second person was Omishore. Okay. So I invited two of them. I said, look, this project was completed. They said, no, you have to, the government is going. I said, don't worry, I'll make it for. And you can't believe it. Within months, I was able to complete it. And all along, I was still paying those that were owed, some petty, some people 10,000, some people 20,000. So I compiled all that. So with that, I got to the heart of Ajay. So
yeah, when I was trying to research more about you beyond what I have, I read on Wikipedia that you were the governor of Sokoto State when the Sultan was deposed by the military, the Sani Abacha-led government. And of course that you had to make pave way for the safe coming in of Machido, who was appointed then. What was this experience like?
Well, point of correction.
Okay.
I wasn't there when Dasuki was deposed.
Okay.
All right. But it was immediately after that
that you came there,
that I was appointed.
And so the new Sultan had to settle down.
Yes.
What was appointed and has to settle. So you settled the new Sultan.
Yes.
We didn't
new
know about
Sultan,
the position.
Yes.
The position
no.
of the.
But
okay.
I was involved because as of that time it was fresh, and the Sultan was then sent to Taraba.
Okay.
All right. You know, there were a lot of intrigues into the whole thing. So the family was having hope on me, and also the people from Bauchi too were having a different opinion. One, I'm a Yoruba man. The wife of that Sultan, all right, I think she's alive. The wife was from Ilorin, actually Yoruba. But I was neutral. What I was doing was to just carry out my job as a military administrator. What involves the Sultan, the post Sultan, I'll take it up. What involves the new Sultan, I'll take it. And honestly, I am very proud to say it. That Sultan Machido was like a father to me, because there was no time I beckoned on him that I will not
Get his attention.
Yes, I'm telling you. And the same thing happened when I was in Bauchi too. In fact, when I was in Bauchi, because that time I was serving Bauchi and Gombe together. You cannot believe it, as even the emir of Gombe would travel down to Bauchi just to come and ask about my welfare. Say, are you faring? We've not seen you. Okay, when are you coming? And you see, the atmosphere was like home. So I didn't miss much, all right, because it was another home. So by that time, things were going on well. And so when I got to Sokoto, and I had to inherit this issue of Dasuki, and by and large, the family that was present for the family, they want him to be moved from Taraba to Kaduna. So I tried my possible best, maybe carried the mail from them to Abuja, get one or two attention, and we were able to amicably resolve most of the problems. But really, from the grapevine, I learned that while I was actually sent to Sokoto, was that initially I wasn't supposed to go to Sokoto, I was supposed to go to another place. But what I was saying there was that the then head of state said, I'm a Muslim, I'm a strong Muslim, that I'll be able to solve the problem in Sokoto.
Okay.
Yes. And that was why they moved me. Initially I wasn't supposed to. But because when the posting came out, alphabetical order, they started with A. When they got to Bauchi, another person, soldier man, was sent. So when it got to second to the last, Sokoto, after Sokoto, Zamfara, I just saw my name. How come from Bauchi to Sokoto? But by and large, everything went smoothly. And one thing I will never forget in my life, the day I was leaving Bauchi, that was the day I got the impression that there is nothing you do on earth that does not get reward. I was supposed to leave government house by 10 o'clock on that day.
In the morning.
But by 2 o'clock, people were still trooping in to say prayers for me. And they were shedding tears. It was public, it's not a new thing. All right? So, and I got that emotion. What have I done to these people? That, in fact, some of them were saying that they were not going to allow me to go. That they want. I said, "What? It's posting. I have to go." But I can never forget that particular incident, because I was supposed to travel by road from Bauchi to Sokoto. You can't believe it. I had to sleep in Gusau because I was running late.
You left late.
Yes. So that particular one gives me the impression that you must be good. If I wasn't good, I would not have that reward. And that's why today I get to anywhere, I mix with any of them. In fact, you can't believe it, the reception I got from some of them after leaving the place, honestly, I never expected.
How much of a family man are you, looking at your military background, looking at your busy nature as a military man, especially when you were governor here and there, different postings, and the general belief that military men are generally busy and they have to be tactically organized to have time for their family? How's yours?
Well, I want to say that it depends on the individual. No matter how committed you are, your family is still your family. You must create time for your family. And everything depends on God's wish. You understand? You can plan for A and you have B. It's happening. In life, you cannot determine what will happen tomorrow. But when it comes to family life, one, the prayer is that please God, give me my partner. And I'm a good family man. Well, I have children, all right, and by and large, I had a series of experiences when it comes to family life. So, in fact, I'm even preparing to make a book on some of these things, so that I'll come out and people will learn from, even if it's a mistake or experience.
Okay, you know that from your CV, you are an expert in overall security operations.
Well, I try.
Looking at Nigeria now, we cannot but ask you, are you saying that we don't have the wherewithal to combat the security challenge or security challenges that we are facing? If we have, what are the things needed to be done?
This is, I would say, Aquilian task, this question. Because when you sit down and look at it, you want to think that there might be something wrong somewhere, in the sense that we have well-trained military men, we have well-trained professionals among military men, right? And in terms of equipment, we may not get it 100%,
But we're not bad.
but we're not bad. So it will now depend on the application of all this, both the equipment, the human resources, and also the government determination. The government political will goes a long way in ensuring. You see, there is nowhere all over the world that you don't have crisis. But I believe we should be able to manage our own better than the way it is. I have that belief that we should be able to manage it better than the way
So
it
what is happening is more than meeting the eye.
So because sometimes I sit down, I feel bad. Is it that we lack information, or is it that we are not? I don't really find it easy when I sit down and think about it.
Simply embarrassing.
Yes, very, very, because Nigeria is a country that is blessed. Let's use that word. We are blessed in terms of human resources, in terms of natural resources, in terms of everything. But look about our management style. We don't have any system in place. To me, we don't have any system in place. It's just a policy that will come up. Even not, some of the policies are not tested. You understand? So I believe we should be able to solve our problems to a greater extent. For instance, let me digress a little bit. I still have the strong belief that by now we should still not be in this position of not having 24 hours light in Nigeria. Ask me why. We have engineers, all right? We have money. Look, even if you have to borrow money to do it, because the involvement of electricity is so much in individuals' life.
And Nigerians will also pay for anything that is reliable and constant.
Yes.
And that because it will move business forward.
For instance, why can't we divide Nigeria into maybe zones? We go on solar, we go on hydro, we go on windmill. All right, where like in the east where you have heavy wind. Why can't you do all these things? Put our engineers, put them together, devote a certain amount for them. They should be able to solve this problem. And the government should be determined that even if we are going to let go some of these projects because of this, because it will have overriding result, because it affects virtually everything.
Navy Captain Rashid Raji retired, the Agba King of Egbaland, and of course the Baba Adini of Egbaland, and of course so many other chieftaincy titles too, because of his contribution to various communities in Agowe, in Shagamu, and of course all other places, and of course the one and only royal administrator known in Bauchi. We want to wish you a very happy birthday in advance, and I want to pray that God will spare your life so that your people will continue to drink from your wisdom, to actually gain from your wisdom and your contribution to the society in all aspects of life. Once again, we want to say congratulations and thank you for coming onto this program.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful to you, and apart from that, I'm so much impressed with all the questions you asked. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Of course, that's how it's going to be on this week's edition of Reminiscences. Our guest has been former governor in Bauchi, and of course Sokoto State, a socialist, a man of the people, and a religious person, Navy Captain Rashid Ajisarajo retired. Until I come your way again, some other time with another interesting guest. I remain yours sincerely, Hakeem Akitunde. Thanks for watching.